What does your depression feel like? No motivation, no drive, no excitement for the future. It's like I'm watching life on TV instead of living in it, and all I want to do is change the channel. Like exhaustion, wanting to go home and be done for the day, even when I'm already there. So tired, all the time, working my ass off to stay somewhat functional and still doing a crappy job at everything because my brain feels slow and I constantly drift off in thought. When I do have any energy, I just want to waste time doing stupid crap like scrolling through Facebook and Pinterest because facing my issues gives me anxiety. I objectively have a pretty good life. I pretend to be normal and happy. I hate myself so freaking much. Thank you all for the love and support. I do not have time to respond to all of the comments, but I read every single one and seriously appreciate it. I hate that so many of us are going through this, but it is comforting to know I'm not alone. I'm getting help, therapy, and medication, and trying every coping skill in the book, and I'm still hoping things can improve. Wishing the best to everyone out there who is also suffering. Wanting to stop, just stop, that's the best way to describe it. I don't want to die, I want to stop living. My depression is heavily codependent on my anxiety, so it's this weird combination of feeling utterly helpless and overwhelmed while also hating myself for not being able to just snap out of it. I'm completely exhausted, but my mind is also racing a million miles an hour with a sense of impending doom. It's almost like I'm experiencing both a manic and depressive episode in tandem, but also not to the extremes you typically experience in a manic or depressive episode. I never realized how not alone I was in feeling this way. A therapist I connected with in Zoloft made the world of a difference in my life. I remember the first therapy appointment I almost cancelled a few hours after making it. Luckily she had an opening that day because I was in crisis. Because the thought of going made me want to crawl into bed and disappear. I forced myself and walked into her office crying, and I actually walked out laughing. Please, if you're struggling, at least try to find a therapist. It may take a few before you find the right fit. Insurance may cover it. You can use HSA to pay for it. And if insurance doesn't cover it, you can ask the therapist about doing a sliding scale. They make it cheaper for those who can't afford it at their going rate. Your mental health is so important. What good is the $80 you'd save on the session if you're dead? I know it's not always that simple in terms of finances, but please at least consider the option. Reach out and see if they can accommodate you. Hang in there. Extreme laziness, extreme difficulty with self-care, healthy habits, showering, brushing teeth, cutting hair, trimming beard, cleaning room. All of these typically get skipped for weeks at a time. Lack of interest in anything at all other than self-medications, previously marijuana and alcohol, sleepless nights, nights with way too much sleep, irrational irritability, decrease in appetite, sad sorrowful nights, resentful mornings, withdrawing socially, keeping in touch with friends, communicating with people in immediate vicinity, anxiety about things that shouldn't cause it, anxiety about things that aren't even a reality, eventually like paranoid anxiety, people are staring at me / frowning at me, random people disapprove of me, those people are talking about me and laughing at me, lack of self-confidence, extreme constant pessimism about everything, feeling like you're alone, even though you are surrounded by people that care. It's just a cloud that's over my head every now and again. Like I want to go home, even if I'm home. Exhaustion, listlessness, sadness, nostalgia, anger, anxiety. Like living in a body that is fighting to live, with a mind that's trying to die. It's okay, I'm fine. Depression is such a cruel punishment. There are no fevers, no rashes, no blood tests to send people scurrying in concern, just the slow erosion of self as insidious as cancer. And like cancer, it is essentially a solitary experience, a room in hell with only your name on the door. Martha Manning, The Broken Heart. You think you will die, but you keep living. Day after terrible day. Penance. If you know someone who's depressed, please resolve never to ask them why. Depression isn't a straightforward response to a bad situation. Depression just is. Like the weather. Greater than sign. Try to understand the blackness, lethargy, hopelessness, and loneliness they are going through. Be there for them when they come through the other side. It's hard to be a friend to someone who's depressed, but it is one of the kindest, noblest, and best things you will ever do. Stephen Fry. Here I'm trying to live. Or rather, I'm trying to teach the death within me how to live. Jane Cocteau. The opposite of depression is not happiness, but vitality. And it was vitality that seemed to seep away from me in that moment. Everything there was to do seemed like too much work. I would come home, and I would see the red light flashing on my answering machine. And instead of being thrilled to hear from my friends, I would think, what a lot of people that is, to have to call back. Andrew Solomon. At first, I'd try to explain that it's not really negativity or sadness anymore. It's more just this detached, meaningless fog where you can't feel anything about anything, even the things you love, even fun things, and you're horribly bored and lonely. But since you've lost your ability to connect with any of the things that would normally make you feel less bored and lonely, you're stuck in the boring, lonely, meaningless void without anything to distract you from how boring, lonely and meaningless it is. Ali Brosh. Physically, it feels like I have the flu. Body aches, chest pain, upset stomach. Mentally, I feel like I deserve the flu. I would say nothingness, but it's more of a numb feeling. I can't just get myself to care about anything at all. I have moments and sometimes days where I'm happy, but it always makes its way back to numb. I wanna do something, but instead I slept through the weekend. I don't wanna be lonely, but being around people makes me mentally exhausted. I wanna be understood, but why bother? I wanna stay afloat, but my feet are tied to a boulder. Like a complete lack of motivation. Like if you sat up, said, I have to go to work/do a thing, but I really don't want to, and then you don't do it, and you just stay in bed the entire day, wanting to go out, but depression telling you, no, you stay here, in bed, and do what you want. Not having showered in a couple weeks, eating less than 500 calories a day and 2,000 the next, staying up until 6 AM then waking up at 3 PM 5 PM. The feeling that I'm worthless and no one actually cares. To be constantly fighting yourself for nothing, all while putting yourself through guilt for that fighting. Like a switch. 1 second I'm laughing and having a good time. Then something happens or someone says something, and then I'm stuck on that thought for hours, just falling deeper and deeper into self-hatred and self-loathing and bringing all the people closest to me down. I'm not stupid. I've finally woken up and realized just how much life sucks. All these other people are walking around and ignoring it, but it sucks and it's pointless. We're all suffering every day, for no real reason. That's how I feel when I'm depressed. Feeling like you touch the bottom, and at the same time knowing it can only get worse. Being too depressed to make anything right, but not enough to end it all. Knowing for a fact that you'll die young, but it's no problem cause living until old age would be worse. Feeling heavier and heavier every year, as if you had dumbbells attached to your limbs and body. Having no chance to lay down to rest, and not being able to ask for help cause that would make everything twice as heavy. Everyone shows you the destination, but they don't see the alligators in the way. Like I'm numb, or having a daydream. I'll laugh at things, sure, but am I really happy? Am I just in denial? Is there a way to get help? I don't know. Anyway, respect for those working to get a better life. Like something is constantly laying down on my chest, and it's just difficult to breathe. I want to go home, but it doesn't exist. Boredom so heavy that the only interesting thing is sleeping. For me it's like I'm grieving, but I don't know why I'm grieving. I guess I'm grieving over my loss of happiness. Regretting everything I've said and done, but not possessing the energy to make a conscious change. It feels like there are two people battling in my head, and they're both covered by a black blanket. Person 1 is pessimistic, regretful, self-defeating and existentially anxious. Person 2 is optimistic, cautious, confident, and tough. Then there's a giant black blanket that zaps all of the energy out of my body. making it nearly impossible to change things in my life unless I sleep a ton / or get some energy to go to the gym or whatever. I constantly feel inadequate in every single thing I do or say. I lost a game of cornhole against my dad today, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm a pure and utter disappointment because of it. One minor failure and anything else I've done gets dragged down with it. Suddenly it feels like my whole life is a failure, not just cornhole. Ever seen something melt? I feel like the left behind shell. Kind of like who I really am left me behind. I saw a picture once of text from either Tumblr or Reddit that compared having depression to eating mashed potatoes all the time. It was basically, why are you eating mashed potatoes? Why not try something else? Because everything tastes like mashed potatoes. I feel like it's a good comparison for the loss of interest. Frick it. Why bother? Like a Redditor. Some days it's active, looking into every sub of my life, downvoting everything and posting negative comments. Other days it's a lurker, not saying or doing anything but you know it's there ready and waiting. Paralyzing apathy, no desire to get up out of bed, letting every intrusive thought run rampant in my mind, forgetting to eat and hydrate. I wake up every morning with my body feeling like it's full of bricks. It's just heavy. My head usually hurts. My stomach almost always hurts. My brain is usually pretty scattered and takes a few hours to really get it together. No matter what time I wake up, I usually have anxiety on my way to work. I get shortness of breath and shaky. Sometimes songs or random thoughts can trigger sad feelings for no reason. I can't just walk past a coworker. I have to think about what I'm going to say to them, where I'm looking, when I will say hi, how I will end it. I'm constantly analyzing all my actions out of worry. I'm always tired, and I always feel like I'm dragging myself around. I've gotten out of the mindset of wanting to die all the time, but there is a part of me that just always feels empty and sad. I have a hard time believing my family truly loves me, and I constantly replay things in my past that have happened that have hurt me. I don't have friends anymore. I have my boyfriend, but I haven't had a real friend in almost 3 years. When I'm alone, I'm truly alone. Sometimes I just feel like the sad pathetic person trying to be happy and make something of my life, but there will always be the sadness just weighing me down. When I'm not with my boyfriend I just feel like a waste of space really, like I'm this sad person trying to be likable, and I'm just not. Like someone broke in and stole all my favorite parts of me. There's just nothing in there. At least that's what it felt like. Now it's fine, because medication is amazing, and I 11/10ths recommend looking into it if you are depressed and have not. It always feels like that everything I've ever did or done have this cold been better aura to it. Nothing in my life has really been exciting or drastic, so it all feels like one huge inconvenience that I'm even continuing at all. It also feels at times, when I finally muster up the mental strength to finally do something, there is always something or someone there to ruin whatever I generate from it, be it happiness. It's almost like it's an RPG thing, where it's scripted to happen. Feeling like I'm weighing down people's lives. Always looking forward to being done with whatever I'm doing. I'm going to go lay down now. No, I'm not setting an alarm. Like the world is too fast for me. Empty. No drive. Motivation. Passion. Constant self-hatred. Restless apathy. You feel like there is nothing, and I mean nothing left in the world that will make you happy or make you feel like taking another breath is worth it. The depression is like being sucked into a black hole of rawness. People don't often explain how painful depression is. The raw pain inside, like your heart is beating against your chest, your stomach bubbling with nausea and acid because you are not eating properly, the heavy feeling in your head, chest, and limbs. The only option is to sit there and cry or go to bed and ride it out like a fever. You are completely devoid of all emotions other than sadness and suffering. The depression fog that grows is so thick and murky, the fog can't be easily parted. Once the fog takes over the brain, you will begin to make irrational decisions or feel irrational things. Your thought process is dulled and jumbled up. The more you think about the future, the more you can't see a way out or a solution, so you decide that dying would be the best option. I ride my depression out like a fever. I do this because I know when I have a relapse of depression and I have it very strong, I tend to make decisions I wouldn't normally make or say things that are not usual thing I say. I feel and act like a different person. The depression is like as if you are being possessed. You feel like a totally separate being. The reality of it is that depression is so very hard to understand. Such low levels of motivation. I've more or less given up on finding a social niche where I belong. I drift along the edges, always on the outside looking in. I feel like I ought to accomplish something important in my life. But fixing all my fuck-ups takes precedence over building something new. Usually it's easier to forget and distract myself until opportunity passes me by yet again. Inadequacy compared to my younger, more successful sister. I have depression and anxiety. My anxiety makes me feel like there is always too much on my plate, and my depression makes me feel like everything is hopeless because I can't handle the stress of anything. Yeah, I'm fine, I'm just tired lol. An emptiness that just keeps on going. A sadness that swallows days/weeks of life at a time. A realization that most aspects of life are meaningless. I'm existing, not living. I don't want to die anymore, but I don't particularly want to live. My life is like background music in a restaurant. Just loud enough for you to realize it's there, but not loud enough to recognize the song. No pleasure, stress, physical paralysis, lack of hunger, angst, chest pain, guilt, no motivation. Want to reset my life, but I'm good now. Really, I just had a bad week since I was without my meds, but I've been treating myself for 2 years and it rarely happens anymore. My depression is newish. My health tanked. Then I lost my job, was diagnosed with PTSD, husband left with my carriage over, have to move. It is painful. My pain went from a 3 to an 8. I hyperventilate and can't sleep. I'm nauseous and can't eat. I have no purpose, and am punishing my children by not being able to be a mother. I'm not going to kill myself, but if there was a vaporize your life button, I would push it. I'm okay with dying in an accident. My condition isn't terminal, but it isn't curable, and when I think about living like this, or worse for 50 years, I just can't. It's too much. How can I be happy when I hurt? How can I not hurt? Why is this my life? What is the point? It just feels like nothing. Like I'm empty on the inside, where unless someone forced me out of bed I would never get up. Does anyone feel two-dimensional? Or when your mind is somewhere and your body is somewhere completely different? I think it's called desensitization. It's the worst feeling ever. Like every day is the same. Get up, go to work, come home. Everything is scheduled, and deviating from that is scary, so I never make plans or go out spontaneously. I just exist as I'm supposed to. I know it's getting bad when I can't tell you what day it is. Not all the time, but on certain days, it feels like I wouldn't mind to die. Not that I would ever actually make it happen. I just wouldn't mind if it just so happened to be my last day. It's a very calm feeling. Actually, almost like being numb to everything. The exact opposite of my anxiety, in which I feel as though I don't have enough time, or that I'm behind in life. My depression kinda sneaks up on me. I don't really notice it until I realize how I've been non-stop angry for a week now. It's usually when I find myself yelling at people I love and thinking what the frick is happening to me. So anger is the short answer. Coming home and going straight to bed because I'm too tired to do anything, like having social interactions with my family and friends. Not being able to eat because nothing tastes good, and what's the point anyway? I can control what I eat, even if I can't control what I feel. For me, it's just a constant sense of frustration with how I feel, because it's something I don't fully understand, and I don't like not being in control. Like treading water, sure. I'm still staying above the surface, but I'm really going anywhere, just inching closer to the great beneath. Like everything I do is for someone else. Nothing I do makes me happy. Every day is a grind, just to get the basics done. The weight of all my frick-ups just sitting on my chest. Hell, my birthday is in a couple days and I don't feel anything. Like I want my life to end, but I don't want to die. I want another chance with a clean slate. I had goals and things I looked forward to, but now all I look forward to is sleeping. I'm going to graduate this coming June from high school and I can't imagine a future for myself. I have parents that constantly make me feel worse about myself, so to get rid of my problems I just sleep. TL. Doctor, lots of sleeping. Like having a salad for a brain. Most days now it's just a whisper at the back of my mind. A reminder that, even if I can cope alright most of the time, it doesn't take much to set it off and put me back where I started. I can ignore it for a while, but it's still there, watching, waiting. Other days though, it's like I'm drowning, my lungs feel heavy, full of water, and I struggle to breathe. I'm trying to swim, but I'm exhausted, and I can't seem to pull myself up. Can't seem to think straight long enough to get my head above water before the next wave comes. I feel like it'll kill me eventually, and I know I should be worried about that, but I'm too tired to worry, too tired to care about anything, do anything, feel anything, because I just want it to stop, since maybe then I'll be less tired, but I'm too tired to make it stop, and everyone I know is swimming along, laughing and playing, expecting me to do the same. Reminding me that I should be able to do this easily. I should be better, but I'm not. Emotional equivalent of watching paint dry. My body hurts, like it's physically impossible to get out of bed or to get off the couch. I used to get in trouble a lot growing up for being lazy, but I realize now I suffered from childhood depression. I didn't start taking antidepressants until I was 23, and before that I required a nap almost every day because existing was so exhausting. I have had to nap in the middle of family get-togethers because a mix of my anxiety and depression. Numbness. I enjoy life. I'm in a good mood. I'm just numb to it all. No emotions, good or bad. I constantly fantasize about ways of killing myself. Sometimes it's going out and buying a gun. Sometimes it's going to a bridge and jumping. Sometimes it's just deliberately falling off the stairs I'm walking on. And then I feel guilty for thinking about it. And I feel too guilty to go through with it. Oftentimes I don't allow myself out of bed because the thoughts that I'm thinking about are too suicidal, and moving would mean one step closer towards them. The times I do get out of bed, it's to seek distractions in fleeting moments of happiness and excitement. I can still feel those emotions, but in a way they are painful, as I know that soon I'm just going to feel nothing but pain again. Pure exhaustion. Like I'm trapped in a body that doesn't want to speak or move. It feels like I'm alone. Like no one really wants to be my friend. They only are out of pity. I told my therapist every time I get the motivation to try, something knocks me down, like a bird that keeps flying into a window. Can't sleep or can't get enough sleep. So hard to make friends. Find a true connection. Not be lonely. Find people who are just normal. Lack of hope for humanity. Scared to death of death. Not sure why we're here. Loneliness. Stuck on the past. No hope for future. Sick of illogical people, unempathetic people, and getting older. I just wanted to add on to this for those reading the comments. Please don't respond to someone saying they have depression with "why don't you try this? It can't be that hard to get it fixed," or "it can't be that bad. Stop faking already." That's just plain awful advice and rarely helps them. Mental illnesses is something that is not very well understood even by professionals. It's largely different for everyone. What may have been a cure for your niece could well worsen someone else's condition. Sometimes the best thing to do is just be there for them. They may not need your advice, just your silent support and understanding that you are someone they can turn to if they need to. It might seem like they've given up, but dear God, nobody wants to stay depressed. Don't try to play doctor with them. Just try to improve their day with the little things, and eventually one day, everything might click into place. I feel like crap. School is going so slow for me right now, and I constantly feel like I won't have impact in anyone's lives. I feel like I'm worthless and ugly, and I'm afraid I won't be able to finish school because I have no drive to do so. Frankly, the thing I want most right is to just be able to learn about and make music without having to go through all these freaking hoops to get there. A little like being crushed All of a sudden everything just gets too heavy sort of. It's overwhelming to the point where it's hard to do anything at all. It's like being trapped in a maze with no direction or genuine motivation to get out. Immense apathy. It feels heavy, like someone turns the gravity switch while I'm up, and muted all of my senses as well. Miserable, sad, lonely, constantly lethargic and wanting to sleep. So getting through the day is more than just a struggle. Being depressed, but also getting past that point of depression, hopelessness, reckless, careless, etc. So I now have crap to do in my life that I've worked so hard for, having to push through that crappy feeling of hopelessness so I can work toward my future. Because I managed to push through that phase, I now have an internship, 2 jobs and in my last year of school. But I'm having such a tough time dealing with all the stress on top of my depression. I feel as if I'm in a limbo and I can't tell whether my depression is getting worse or if it's just the stress. By the end of every day, I just want to sleep and sleep in through the next day and do nothing at all. But I still somehow manage to wake up and deal with more bullcrap every day. TLDR, basically sad and tired and unmotivated AF, but also high strung and ironically motivated AF to get past my depression and into the next chapter of my life. Darkness. There's a shadow over everything. Everything is dim. The noise of life is muted and subdued. I'm exhausted even though I don't feel like I've done anything. Everything looms over me like canyon walls. I know if I just climbed out of this, I'd see the light. But I just can't. Irritable. I'm constantly annoyed by the fact that I have to do things. Doing things means thinking about them. Thinking about them means worrying about them. And worrying about them leads to feelings of inadequacy and self-loathing. So instead, when my thoughts turn negative and I start feeling depressed, my reaction is to hide from my thoughts and from doing things. I turn to books and TV shows to drown out my thoughts, and do it to the exclusion of almost everything else. So I don't have to think about anything. And anytime I get interrupted from reading or watching Netflix, I get angry and irritated because it means I'll have to do something which will likely cause me to think those negative thoughts. And I don't want to face my problems. I'd like to be creating, but I just end up consuming. I have plans, dreams, things I want to try, but a lot of the time I just have so little mental and emotional stamina. It can be hard to get going on a project because I just know that as soon as I really get rolling, life will make demands of me that will eat up my time and energy, and I'll have to shelve that project for another couple of years. And that's even assuming I feel like I could even pull it off with some level of quality and competence, or that anyone would care to begin with. Even so, it's better than when I was a teenager. I can at least function like a semi-productive human being 9 days out of 10. But there are some days where you just have to wonder, what's the point? Some days it just feels like I'm being wrapped in a blanket of sadness, and then other days it just feels like I'm drowning, and no matter how hard I try I can't swim back up. Emptiness. Pure emptiness. Drowning. Like I can't breathe. When I go into a truly depressed state, the big one is that I stop eating, or I lose my appetite really easily. I was depressed one summer back in 2015, 2016, and I went from 112 kilograms to 80 kilograms over a 3-month period. My friends asked what the frick happens to me. I just told them that my work was really physically demanding, but it wasn't. I was just depressed. I live life trying to smile. I succeed, for the most part, but I feel like a porcelain doll with an unstoppable force inside of me. Sometimes it cracks me a little bit, and I end up feeling all of the worst feelings I could ever feel. But I always repair myself, so I'm presentable to the world. I live a life that I know will never amount to anything. I will never make a difference in the grand scheme of things. I live each day wanting to die. I would never kill myself, but I would be lying if I said the thought of not being here isn't appealing. Not only do I have my own personal struggles going on, I'm such an empath. Not just for other people, but for like, the world. As in, the planet. I see crap happening every day that is essentially a nail in the coffin for Earth. It makes me upset. I hate the way my body looks. But I'm so busy with life to work out anymore. I wish I had different physical features. I don't want to just lay here and sleep, because then I think too much about the overwhelming emptiness. I hold everything into the best of my ability. I try to help others out with their problems. But overall, I'm very fricked up mentally, and I can't even afford insurance to go to a therapist.